Bob, first of all, I just want to thank you for letting me pick you up today. I'm really grateful for the opportunity. You've been doing this a long time. Why do you still do it?
I love it. I love it. I just absolutely love it. First of all, I want to thank you for picking me up. I think I've gone to this studio before.
Yeah.
But no, I couldn't even imagine. I was talking to Gay Hendricks the other day, and he had sent me a bunch of questions for a project we're involved in. And one of them, what would you want to do if you weren't doing this? And I couldn't even come up with an answer. I told him, I said, I couldn't even imagine doing anything else. I absolutely love working in this business.
Do you ever get tired of it? It's been 50 years.
Never. No. In fact, I very rarely even get tired. Yeah, you couldn't possibly get tired of doing something that you love doing. People get tired of doing something when they're doing what they don't love. The average individual doesn't know that they can do whatever they want. I remember one time I went to visit Earl Nightingale when I first started to study. And I asked him, I said, Earl, what is really the big deal? I mean, what is it all about? He said, there's no secret to success. He says, it's simply a matter of deciding what you love to do and then dedicate your life to it. He said, the problem is, most people don't know what they love to do. They never sit and even think about it. And I knew right when he said that, what I love to do, I wanted to do what he was doing. And I made up my mind I would. And a very short period of time later, I was in an office right beside his. But I mean, I love this business. You watch people right in front of your eyes change. Ideas in the mind change, the whole person's life changes. So, I mean, you'd have a difficult time not liking that.
So it doesn't sound like retirement's a word that's in your vocabulary.
I think it's a repulsive word, to tell you the truth. I mean, retirement, that's pulled back from life. Why would you ever want to do that? I love it. I just love it. I'll do this as long as I can breathe.
You always hear about people who retire and then like 2 weeks after they retire, they die.
Well, they have no reason for living.
Yeah.
You know, Bill Gove was a mentor of mine, a great friend of mine. He, one of the last speaking engagements he had was at one of our seminars, and fortunately we professionally videotaped it. That was in October. He passed away the middle of December. If he had lived until January, he would have been 90. Now, I had him as a mentor for 30 years. You know, he was just a phenomenal guy, but he spent his whole life doing what he loved doing.
Hey, you shared that feedback with me of the guy from Vegas who owned the restaurants. You know, how do you feel when you see somebody who, you know, basically you turn their entire business and life around?
Well, that's just last week. That was just yesterday. I got a letter, and they owned a couple of big restaurants, he and his partner, and they had invested a couple of $1 million in renovating them, and then the downturn came in Vegas. Well, it got to a point the guy was so despondent. I mean, he was pulling into a shell. I mean, he was ready to walk away from the whole deal. And he got a hold of, he got onto some program we were on, and he got a hold of the Thinking into Results program. It's a dozen videos that we made. And then he got into the Born Rich book, and then 11 Laws of Success. And he got everybody in the restaurant studying it. This guy's on the upturn. He's going like a rocket now in a bad economy. See, he bought into the bad economy in Vegas. What the programs did, and he was in it for quite a while, what the programs did, it got him to look at it objectively. It got him to understand that he was creating his own economy. He had everybody in the restaurant, the whole works, and these are pretty big restaurants. They did a couple of $1 million renovations. But he turned the whole thing around. I'm going to go and visit the guy. When I'm in Vegas, I'm definitely going to go and see him. I'm going to give him a call later today or tomorrow. It was just a phenomenal change took place. And what he really changed was his attitude. He changed his perception of what was going on.
It sounded almost like before he bought into the economy as his reality.
That's exactly what happened. We let the newspapers, the TV, and the people at the table beside us in the restaurant control our thinking, really. We become the plaything for what's going on around us. We've got to take control over our life. We were given dominion over. The problem is we don't take it. We've got higher faculties that we never learned to develop. Mary Morrissey and I just made a program on that. It's called Into Your Genius, and it's developing the higher faculties of perception, intuition, the will, you know, and then how to use those higher faculties. It's a great program. It's just coming out this month.
Cool. Didn't the same thing happen at 9/11? Like there was this huge event, and all of a sudden you have this public you know, change in consciousness or in habits. You know, I know that's when I went broke, because I bought into the fact that nobody was buying printing anymore.
9/11, the financial crises, they're like emotional impacts, and they just jam people's mind, and it alters lives. Now, unfortunately, those emotional impacts are very negative. We don't have to let them affect us. It doesn't take away from the terrible atrocities or anything like that, but we don't have to become subjective to what's going on outside of us. We've got to control our own thinking, learn to think for ourselves, and plan our own life. And when we do that, you know, everything starts to move in the direction we want to move. Bill Gove put it very well one time. He said, if I want to be free, I got to be me. Not the me I think you think I should be. Not the me I think my wife thinks I should be. Not the me I think my kids think I should be. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. Now, I've heard people say that's a selfish attitude. Oscar Wilde put it very well. He said, selfishness is not living as one wishes to live. Selfishness is asking others to live as one wishes to live. A lot of selfish parents, a lot of selfish spouses. We should be encouraging people to create the dream and live their dream, and then help them do that.
So Bob, it's 2010. It's a new decade. What do you hope to communicate with people today?
I want people to understand, I want the videos that we're going to make help people understand how they're programmed, literally programmed to live the way they're living. They're mentally programmed to do it. And that's why they keep getting the same results. I want to show them how that happened and then how to change it, so they can start to live the way they want, the way we live. I mean, we do the things we want to do. We're free. We can earn what we want, go where we want. And that's the way we're created. We're created to live that way.
Awesome. Well, I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, it's going to be good. Hello there and welcome. I'm Bob Proctor. Do you know, in 1961, I picked up Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. Boom, like that. My entire life changed. I was sitting in a fire hall in a suburb of Toronto in Canada. I was earning $4,000 a year, and I think I owed $6,000. Things were not too brilliant. I really had no hope of how to really do anything much different than I was doing. But then I got into that book, and things started to happen. Do you know, a year later I was earning $175,000 a year. Then I took it over $1 million a year. My life changed like night and day. And I often have people say, well, how did you do it? I did it cleaning offices. I was prepared to do anything honest to earn money. I got a bucket and a mop and used floor machines, and I started to clean one office. Do you know, in a relatively short period of time, I was cleaning offices in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, London, England. The thing just took off like a rocket. Now, if you asked me what I was doing, I couldn't really tell you. What did I do that was so different? And you know, it's a strange thing. I started to become aware of ideas that I had been living with that I found out had no substance. There was no foundation for the beliefs that I had been raised with. You see, I had been raised to believe that if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really brilliant. But I was earning a lot of money, and I knew I wasn't. I was raised with the idea that if you don't go to school, you'll never do well in business. I went to grade 9 for 3 months. A couple of months high school, that was it. And here I was operating a business in 3 different countries and 7 different cities. And I started to ask myself, how does this happen? What am I doing that's so different? People would ask me, and I say, well, I'm cleaning offices. But you know, I think that cleaning offices was almost incidental to what I was doing. I could have been doing anything. I had to find out what happened to me. Why did I change? And you see, what I really did, I changed my belief about who I am. Do you know, I've been into the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Torah, all the religious books. I have a phenomenal library of self-help books. I've got over 3,000 books on the shelves just in my library alone. They're all up there in alphabetical order by author. Now, up until 1961, I had never read a book. Think and Grow Rich was the first book I'd ever read. But I started to study. I wanted to know, why did I change? Because I gave that book to other people and nothing happened to them. Do you know, it took me 9 years. And what I arrived at is I had changed my belief about who I am. Now, in all of the great books, It said you've got to believe. William James, the great psychologist from Harvard back around 1900, he said, believe, and your belief will actually create the fact. Well, you know, we read that all things are possible if you believe. Well, I started to study this word belief, and I thought, where does it come from? How do we arrive at it? How do we believe? Why do we believe what we believe? Do you know, if you really analyze most of your beliefs, they have no foundation. We believe lies. We really do. We'll say, well, I believe that, and yet our behavior would indicate we'd never heard of it. Now, this really puzzled me. I made a very good move way back in the early 60s. I selected coaches, mentors. I've had 7 of them in my life, and phenomenal ones. And I would listen carefully to them. I'd always have questions prepared when I was going to meet with them. And I remember I was sitting with Val Van de Waal. We were in a hotel in Toronto, and he said something just in idle conversation like that. It was like rockets going off in my mind. He said, our belief system is based upon our evaluation of something. And frequently, if we reevaluate a situation, our belief about that situation will change. I said, what'd you say? He said, what do you mean? I said, you said something about belief. He said, our belief is based upon the evaluation of something. And frequently, if we reevaluate a situation, our belief about it will change. And suddenly, I realized what had happened in my life. I began reevaluating who I was. What made me tick? You see, if you'd asked me who I was, I would have said I was Bob Proctor. But I'm not Bob Proctor. Bob and Proctor are just 2 words. That's my name, but it's not me. Or I might have said, well, this is me. No, this is my body. This is not me. You never hear anybody phone into work and say, body's not coming in today, it's sick. Now think about this for a moment. You never heard anyone say, hand. My hand, it's something I have. My name, it's something I've got. My body, it's something I've got. Well, who am I? Well, you see, over the years, it took me 9 years to figure this out. What actually happened? I started to evaluate who I was. I want you to hold your hand up in front of you. Hold it right up in front of you and look at it. It looks solid, doesn't it? It's not solid. It's a sieve at the very best. If you took the proper microscope and studied it, you'd be blown away. There's particles of energy, and there's a greater space between the particle than the size of the particle itself. Now, this thing that looks solid, that's our perception. And our perception creates our reality, but our reality sometimes is false. Our body is a mass of molecules in a very high speed of vibration. Do you know, way back in the 50s, a DuPont scientist determined that there's approximately 11 million kilowatt hours per pound potential energy locked up in the electrons in the atoms of your body. We are nothing but a living mass of power. And then you'll hear somebody come in the house and they'll say, who's there? Oh, it's just me. Do you know, kids going to school don't realize who they are. And school's not teaching us who we are. Well, I started to study this. Do you know, if you just studied the electrical system in your body, the central nervous system, do you realize that the central nervous system in this physical instrument you're living in would make the electrical system in a supercomputer look like an absolute toy? Now think of this for a moment. Have you any idea the number of electrical signals fly through your body for the simple purpose of signing your name on a piece of paper? Do you know, it's a rather sad thing. We can go right through our educational system and learn very little about ourselves. There's a couple of things we're not taught in school. There's many things we're not taught, but there's a couple that are vital to our success. Number one, we're not taught how to earn money. No, we're not. 1% of our population earns 96% of all the money that's being earned. Now think about that for a moment. And we're not taught how to make decisions. That's why we have people running around saying, what do you think I should do? The crazy part, they're usually asking somebody that does not think. One of my mentors was Earl Nightingale. I worked with Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant for 5 years. I feel blessed. It was such an education from the Nightingale-Conant Corporation. Do you know, the Nightingale-Conant Corporation started the personal development industry as we know it today in recorded fashion. They really did. They started the industry. I had the good fortune of working with those 2 men for 5 years. It was an education the likes of which very few people would ever be exposed to. I learned so much about me. And you know the crazy part about it? When I learned about me, I learned about you. Do you know we're all essentially the same? Do you know what's different is our behavior, our belief systems, and the results we get. But the mind operates exactly the same with you as it does with me. Our body plays the same role. It plays the same role. It's an instrument of the mind. Do you know that you and I can sit down and we can accomplish anything that we can visualize in our mind? Oh, I know you've heard that. You've heard it many, many times, and you read it in all kinds of books. But why is it that we have people read this information, they hear it in recorded fashion, but they don't change? It doesn't happen. There's a missing link. Well, I found out what that missing link was. Now, mind you, it took me a long time. You see, I changed, and my life changed so dramatically, I didn't know why. And you know what I found out? I found out that the real high achievers, I'm talking about those hard chargers that really make it happen, they don't know why they're such high achievers. Do you know, I worked with the Prudential of America, helped them raise their sales by hundreds of millions of dollars. Their top people did not know why they were top people. They would have psychologists come out of Jersey, their head office, and shadow their top performers, trying to figure out, what do these people do? They wanted to can it and give it to everybody, and they couldn't figure it out. See, it's not obvious. It's inside. It's like Wallace Waddle says. He says, your success isn't from what you do, it's how you do it. You see? The big difference, a big difference. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. It's what's going on inside. Well, I've been studying this for hundreds of days, thousands of days, every day. I'm absolutely fascinated with it. And you see, I believe you want to know how to do better. Now, I'll tell you why I believe that. Now, you may have given up at some point, but there's something inside of you that wants to express itself in a greater way. That's why it keeps want. And then we're raised to believe, well, you can't have everything you want. The truth is you can. You really can. And you know something else? You don't have to be the smartest kid on the block. No, you don't. See, we're raised to believe if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really brilliant. I was earning a lot of money and I wasn't very brilliant. We're raised to believe if you're going to win in business, you've got to have a good education. I didn't have a good education. I hadn't even hardly gone to school. And I started to realize that, you know, a lot of this information isn't sound. A lot of the things we're raised to believe is not right. And then as I started to study all the self-help material, I have an enormous library. I wasn't getting the answer. I was getting motivated. It would make me excited. But I didn't really know how to change the results. And you know, that's happening with people every day. Do you know, all over the world, I operate in about 87 different countries in our company. And all over the world, people are running into exactly the same problem. They sit down and they write down what they want and they read the book and they say, do this, build the image, but it doesn't happen. Well, do you know that you've got a control panel in here? You do. And that control panel is dictating the results you're getting. And if you don't understand how that control panel works and then how to adjust it, it's like a thermostat. Your results are not going to change. I don't care what your intentions are. I don't care how hard you work. Trying harder is not the answer. Well, if you're at all interested in what I've just explained to you, I have helped people all over the world become multimillionaires. Truly. You watch The Secret. A number of people on The Secret I've worked with. I've coached them, helped them do the things they want to do. I've got some phenomenal information. Now, I'm going to make another video. If you're interested, you want to come back, let us know. And I'm going to show you a concept. And when you get a hold of this concept, it'll change your life that fast. Now, the concept that I'm going to explain, it's going to take a few minutes to explain it. And I'll put a graphic on the screen here for you. But this graphic will change your life. I've had chief executive officers in some of the largest companies in the world say when I've explained this concept to them, that it's the most valuable thing they've ever learned. And you know the real wild part about it is, not only do these executives use it in their corporations to get their corporations really going and earning the profit that they're due, but their kids use it in school. That's right. I've gone into prisons with this. I've gone into corporations all over the world, from India to Indiana. I've gone into schools. I've worked with sports athletes. There's athletes, national athletes in America, that'll tell you this information that Proctor's got is valuable. And you say, it's not me, it's the information. And it isn't going to be you, it's going to be the information you're operating with. You see, you've got everything you need all locked up inside of you. What we've got to learn is how to write the new program, because you are programmed. You're programmed genetically and environmentally. Now, if this interests you, if it even interests you a little bit, let us know. And then make up your mind. You're going to take a look at the next message I'm going to send you, because it's a mind blower. It changed my life like night and day. This is Bob Proctor.